name's Reese Cole. You are listening to or watching another one of our incredible podcasts that is part of the That Thing You Like network. I am here to talk about the COLEYMANIA podcast, where I invite people from the UK, from all over the world, to talk anything pro wrestling, from our favourite entrances, memorable storylines, what got us into wrestling. We like to do a monthly thing where we talk about pay-per-views that have happened and just anything that gets us going. So if you want to find me, I'm out on Twitter. It's at COLEYMANIA, and I am, of course, part of the TTYL network. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, podcasters around the world, my name is Reese Cole. Welcome to the second COLEYMANIA podcast, COLEYMANIA Triple Threat. My guests today are Mr. James Matthews, give us a wave.
What up?
And all the way from the US, Mr. Danny Martinez. Hello, sir.
How's it going?
All good. Today we're going to discuss three topics. We have got two sets of best and worst, those being in the entrance categories, which entrance has you glued to your seat and popping away, and which entrance sends you to the kitchen for a snack. We are also going to discuss your favourite, most memorable storylines and the ones that leave a bitter taste in your mouth. And sandwiched in between that, the current wrestling war that is AEW versus NXT. So we're going to get the ball rolling with storylines. Storylines are something for me that in the current era of pro wrestling, the WWE don't seem to know how to do very well. AEW are flying the flag with that. I still feel that the standard bearers for storylines are New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is something that I've got into probably over the last 3 years. Is something that I've kind of, it's been one of my core things to watch. So I'm going to go to James. James, hello, sir.
Hello there.
Your favourite.
I don't know why I waved. I've already waved once at you.
Your favourite pro wrestling storyline, please.
The favourite storylines I struggle with because there's been so many good ones, and I don't really watch New Japan. There's not much of it I've watched at all. I kind of watch Wrestle Kingdom when it's on, kind of grasp some of the storylines. But my favourite storyline, and so many people hated this storyline when it happened, was the WCW-ECW Invasion 2001.
What?
Don't get me wrong, they could have done it about a million times better by waiting just, a year. But okay. I just loved what went on through it. And don't get me wrong, I know it wasn't WCW and ECW. It was basically, look, Stone Cold heel. That's good. Moving on. That was basically what it is. But that was the big storyline I watched when I first fully got into watching like every pay-per-view and watching Raw and SmackDown. I'm watching SmackDown on that Sky One on a Saturday.
Yes, Saturday morning.
So that's what I fully remember watching. So the Invasion was one of my favourite ones, and I know it wasn't great looking back, but I just remember it being brilliant.
Yeah, it does have its moments. Don't get me wrong, it has its moments.
Well, the 5-on-5 at Survivor Series probably saves it more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, there is a moment that I've got written down that I will mention later on. I'm just going to say it now. I think it's the 7th of July 2001. Could be the 10th of July 2001. The pop when Stone Cold returns to save Team WWE.
Yeah.
JR, he literally loses his voice. The man loses his voice. The timing of Michael Cole to the line of, and the crowd are chanting the name, and just as he finishes, glass shatters. I've got goosebumps now. Like that, he's still one of the things that I go back to. And so I can't fault you for that one. Is there any other standouts for you?
The story of Daniel Bryan winning it at 30 from all the way at the start when he got screwed out the belt, when he didn't appear in the Rumble, just all the way through to it. And yeah, I mean, again, had he not been injured, it could have been even better because obviously he defended against Kane at Extreme Rules. And then literally, I think a week or two later, he had to forfeit the title.
Yes.
Because he got injured. Yeah. I think it was a week or two. and the whole lead up to Bryan winning it, and when he made the decent tap out, he was like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
Word I won't use. And just like, finally, like that was the big moment that we've been waiting for. When he beat Triple H at the start of the event, and just all of it leading into it, it was brilliant. Poor Rey Mysterio getting booed for that when he wasn't Daniel Bryan.
I wasn't watching wrestling at the time, because I stopped for a little while, but even I knew about that whole storyline of like, I just kept hearing about Daniel Bryan and who he was. Yeah. So once I got back into it,
it really did capture a lot of kind of part-time wrestling fans. Yeah. I know the storyline itself caused a lot of problems with TNA/Impact at the time, because I think
when Eric Young
they did it with Eric Young.
The exact same thing they did with Eric Young.
They literally just said, "Oh, all right, yeah, that works. We'll do that."
Yeah, that's a good idea. But I think you've got a beard. You'll do it. Come on. Yeah. But yeah, I just think the whole Daniel Bryan storyline was brilliant. And the last one, I won't take up ages to say about this, was the Summer of Punk. From going up to Money in the Bank, the whole lead up of I'm going to win this title and I'm going to go. He wins it in that incredible match I love that match. That saved that entire pay-per-view.
The kiss to John Cena as he left.
Yeah, and then just to Vince, and he waves at him and he goes away, and then he puts on Twitter that he's got the title in his fridge. Mm-hmm. And then he's not there the next week, and he came back far too early. They should have waited. I get what they were going to go to SummerSlam for the unification, but he could have just waited till, I don't know, Survivor Series, make it a bit longer, give him some time off, which is what Punk said he always wanted, just time off.
Yeah.
You've also got the pipe bomb in there.
Of course, probably one of the best WWE promos that was ever done. Another one there as well, which now scratches one off my list for my entrances, because I was saying before you joined us, Danny, I was struggling to find one. Well, I managed to narrow it down to one actual entrance that I love the most, with about 12 honourable mentions. One being the Stone Cold from the Invasion, and the other, when Cult of Personality played on Monday Night Raw, for the more than misgivings of John Cena. Because I'm not a huge Cena fan, but he sold that so well, and they just appeared. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah. Danny, your favourite professional wrestling storyline?
I think there's a few, and a lot of them are pretty recent. But first, I want to give a quick, I guess a little bit of backstory real quick. I didn't get back into wrestling until 2016 because WrestleMania was going to be in Dallas, where I live. Okay. And I wanted to go, and I did go. So I figured I might as well catch up. I started with that year's I think it was Fastlane.
Yes, Fastlane.
The first pay-per-view I watched before WrestleMania in Dallas. I think it was at 32.
Is that the one of Daniel Bryan and Reigns fighting for the title opportunity? Or is that the year before?
No, I think Reigns was the main event, but I think he was fighting Triple H.
Yeah, that was 32. That was WrestleMania.
The biggest moment at WrestleMania was Shane jumping off of the Hell in a Cell.
In a cell against Taker. Wow, what a moment to be there.
Yeah, the worst thing about that is for the love of mankind. You can see him reading the script.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
So a lot of the ones that I have are kind of recent. An honorable mention, I will say MJF's turn on Cody.
Yes.
I mean, I know it was very short because the company's so new. Yeah. But, he had been his one dude from the beginning. And we all know MJF, right? We knew it was going to happen. But then the fact that it set him up to never be able to challenge for the title.
Yes.
Like, that takes a lot of balls to, I'm starting my own company and I can never be the champion until I make a new title.
Yeah. Which weirdly, switching my notes over, that is one of my AEW negative points, is Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. So the main note on that title though is how horrendous it actually looks.
Listen, it looks better than the 24/7 title. Done.
Yeah, but let me just find a little pin badge. I'd rather use that as a title.
Yeah. one of my favorite storylines is Kevin Owens and the rise of Kevin Owens and Jericho.
The list of
leading up
Jericho.
to
the Festival of Friendship.
Festival of Friendship.
Yes.
Yeah. Completely forgot about that.
It was another Jericho reinvention. Kevin Owens is like one dude I'm always behind, whether he's being a heel or a face or somewhere in between. And just the way it kind of got through, like they kept teasing it, and it wouldn't happen until this grand moment. Yeah, that was great. And then I hope I'm not, like I said, these are all pretty recent, but
yeah, no, that's cool.
The next two are kind of organic and on their own. The rise of COLEYMANIA and then also the rise of Becky Lynch as the man. They just happened so organically because the crowd just got behind them that I felt like even if WWE didn't have plans for that to happen, they had to adjust, kind of like with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Like it was so organic that they wanted to turn Lynch heel, and we just wouldn't have that. Or if we did, like we were gonna root for the heel if that was the case.
Yeah.
And then Kofi finally got his due after so long. Like
they definitely did the right thing. I think it gets a lot of negativity because people obviously, Mustafa Ali was in the picture to get that moment, and obviously he suffered an injury. But I just think if you look at the work that Kofi's put in over the years, the longevity that he's had, I think he's now, I want to say he's tied for second. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's tied for second for all-time Royal Rumble appearances now.
Mm-hmm. I think there's only like Kane ahead of him now.
Yeah, Kane is up there. Yeah, he's beat Triple H. They do say that I think there's 3 people who are tied now for second, and they don't mention the other 2 because it's Chris Jericho and Goldust.
Right.
They're on that list with him, but they don't like to mention them. Weird.
Yeah, because they don't exist in WWE for some reason. They're just gone. Weird that.
I remember seeing them a lot.
Yeah, they were definitely there. They were definitely part of it. I think
Jericho was the first undisputed champion, man.
Yeah, exactly. The first undisputed champion. And also, if you look at it in a weird type of way, a friend of mine pointed this out to me the other day. You look at because I'm going to throw this at you now, and we'll close with it. The first podcast that I did, I asked for a wrestling Mount Rushmore with a little bit of a difference from people. It's something we discussed. So at the end of this podcast, I'm going to ask you guys for your legend, your best promo, just a wrestler for each one. So I want your pro wrestling legend, your best promo, your one for the future, and there's another one which I will find shortly because I can't remember. We'll go best female wrestler. That's what we'll do. We'll throw that in there. Why not?
Improv. I think fine.
Improv. It's what we do. But I think Becky Lynch as the man. Obviously, Becky has come away from WWE now because she's expecting a baby. Congratulations, Becky. I know you're going to watch this. I think, so I'm now going to apologise, Becky. I think she left probably at the right time because I think the character had got a little bit stale. I think the empty arena thing will have added to that. But I just feel that she went near enough imitating Conor McGregor for a couple of weeks. It felt like it had gone from, like you'd said, Danny, it was something that was organic. And then they've kind of they've made it into something it wasn't. They made it like
they
this.
WWE'd it. They
did. Vince
they WWE'd it. They went overboard. They looked at, look at all this organic growth it's had with this fantastically talented female wrestler, and we're gonna get involved now instead of her doing what she'd done for so long to be, the main event. She was the main event at WrestleMania. And then they went, oh no, we're going to get involved because we think we can do better. No, these people know their characters. They know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Why ruin it?
I'm gonna give you my all-time, my favourite. There was little bits of. I feel like there's storylines that could have been so much better. I feel that Sting, even though it was late in his career, I feel Sting was one of my favourite wrestlers ever. And I feel like they wasted Sting. Triple H obviously buried him as he does to everybody. I think they ruined that. So for me, I'm gonna take you back to where it began, which is at WrestleMania 24 in 2008, and the one line that is said in this match that kind of echoed for everybody is, "I'm sorry, I love you." And that was when Shawn Michaels super kicked Ric Flair, pinned him for the 1-2-3 and retired Ric Flair. And that was kind of, for me, the rejuvenation of Shawn Michaels. We'd seen him come back and do little bits of stuff, and this kind of put him back in the Mr. WrestleMania spotlight. And I knew, at the end of that match, I knew that now Shawn was back as Mr. WrestleMania, it was only going to go one way. I didn't expect it to be drawn out over 2 years. And for me, it's probably the best long-term storyline WWE have done. They've not done a better one since, for me, the whole Shawn and Undertaker thing. You look at Shawn's progression from that match after he's retired Ric Flair. He had main event feuds with Batista, world title feuds with Jericho. The one storyline that I found a little bit strange was they wrote in that he invested all his money into stocks and lost all his family money, and he became JBL's lackey for a little bit, and then he had a match with JBL to win his contract back and win his life back.
I've completely forgotten about that. I think I must have wiped that from my memory.
It was really weird, and then he had a match on Raw. I think I've got it. Let me check the date. It was in March. So just before the match against The Undertaker, he was on a match on Raw. I believe the pay-per-view just before, Triple H was the world champion at the time, and he had a match with Vladimir Kozlov, and it went to a no contest. So Kozlov didn't get his first official defeat. It was actually Shawn Michaels who gave him this defeat, and then Shawn got his first match against The Undertaker. That first match that he lost against The Undertaker was for like
the greatest WrestleMania match.
It was just the story that it told. And then, Shawn went away for a little bit after that, and I thought they're going to retire him without retiring. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just going to fade off now. And I was
Christian.
Yeah, and I was fine with it. I was absolutely fine with it. And it was then, I want to say, in the run-up to SummerSlam, Triple H having all sorts of problems with Orton, DiBiase, and that man, Cody Rhodes. Legacy, that stable, and Triple H. You kind of knew he needed help. You wasn't sure. You hadn't seen Shawn Michaels for ages, and it's just a classic scene where Triple H walks into an office building, goes into the cafeteria of this office, and Shawn Michaels is a chef in this thing, and he's just turning out food, and Triple H is like, we need to get the band back together. We need to do this. And there's some horrendously funny skits all the way through, to where he eventually gets Shawn Michaels to come back at SummerSlam. They have a big match at SummerSlam that they win. They go on to win the tag titles. You're coming into WrestleMania season, Shawn wants the match with The Undertaker, he's saying no. You then get the reconciliation of Shawn and Bret Hart from the Montreal Screwjob in Canada, where they embrace, which is probably one of the most history-defining moments in the WWE again. They lose the tag team titles, and he's begging The Undertaker for a match. The Undertaker's not having it. Obviously, he doesn't get his... Undertaker's the world champ. He loses at the Royal Rumble, so he doesn't get his chance there to challenge The Undertaker. He tells Shawn he's not worthy. Disappears off screen. We don't see him. He pops up again and costs Taker the Elimination Chamber match in the February. And then Undertaker, Shawn Michaels 2. From the entrances, the moonsault from Undertaker's on the table outside, moonsault from the ring onto the table, and then just him fighting on his knees, and Undertaker's like trying to pick him up, and he slaps Undertaker across the face. And Undertaker hits the best tombstone I have ever seen. Puts him down, and that's it. And that, for me, was when I first got into wrestling. I remember my first pay-per-view that I watched was, I want to say it's WrestleMania 15, from which I want to say is 90. I want to say it's 90. Yeah, 98. So it's obviously Stone Cold and The Rock in the main event. Austin wins the world title, celebrates drinking beer with Earl Hebner. But that was, Shawn Michaels comes out at the beginning of that match as the commissioner. So I've only known about Shawn Michaels as a wrestler really from clips I've then been able to see from WWE television because it wasn't as accessible as it is now, of part of DX and things like that, and it kind of carried on from there. But The Undertaker was always the man. So that, for me, was my first kind of... That was the Rock Cena of kind of like my introduction to wrestling, is the way I can put it, like an icon against the legend type of thing. So that'd be my favourite one. I'll quickly roll through my worst storylines, 2 of which from the Attitude Era, 2 of which are fairly recent. I'll get my recent ones out the way first. The Librarian storyline and gimmick in AEW.
Yeah.
It just bores the death out of me. Like, I just don't get it, and I don't want to get it. And he's not got me at all. So that's kind of out the window. To the WWE, they released a heck of a lot of talent in a time where people are kind of on furlough from work. I'm not sure. What was the work situation like in America, Danny? Was that similar? Did you have a furlough scheme? Have you got that, or?
So, I mean, personally, luckily, I'm working from home. I've been working from home all this time. But, I mean, yeah, I think, and that was going to be on my list as well. I think if the whole, I'm assuming you're referring to Drake Maverick and
Yes.
everything. Yeah, if that whole thing was a work from the beginning, or it was something that WWE came up with after they saw his promo on Twitter or, his video, like.
Yeah, which I believe that's where it come from. I think it was the video that made them change their mind.
Yeah, I just don't think that, and even if Maverick says that it was his idea or that he was on board, like, I just don't. It's just not the right time to do something like that. If it ever is, storylines with people losing their jobs are not my favorites.
No.
Maybe like retirement makes sense. Like Ric Flair, that one made sense. And if you just watch
which Ric Flair retirement.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the latest one. So if we just saw the 24 that came out after In Your House this weekend, like they go over all that stuff, and I love that clip, and shed a tear every time I see Shawn Michaels just tell him like, I'm sorry, I love you, and
it's crazy.
He kicks him in the face.
It's the Ric Flair retirement on Raw. What I don't know, I never remember what the song is. That's just playing whilst he's crying, as Ric Flair does all the time.
Yeah,
and everybody's just standing and applauding that song. Like, whenever they hit on, like, oh yeah, that's Ric Flair. I remember that being really emotional.
They didn't play it on the 24 probably because they didn't want to pay for the licensing again. But, but yeah, you forget how massive that Raw after that WrestleMania was.
Yes, it was huge. But I think the Drake Maverick thing, it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. I mean, I know people who bought his T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees after this. I mean, he's done a couple of interviews. He's been quoted in the Wrestling Observer. He did an interview with Sportskeeda, and he's kind of said that he was approached by Triple H after he did the video because they wasn't expecting the online response to be as big as it was. That's what got him the opportunity in the Cruiserweight Classic, and they just said, look, we want you to, well, it's a 90-day no-compete. You may as well come in and still earn good money instead of the lesser money that other talent had got. So he's come in, and then because he's been clever, he's used EC3, whose promos on Twitter have been incredible recently as well. They're definitely worth having a watch of. And I think it was 2 matches in that he approached Triple H and said, if you want to storyline this, you can do. And this comes off the back of, I think, two to 3 weeks after the releases. Even though the news only broke fairly recently, WWE offered all the released talent contracts, but they were at something like 40% of the previous earnings. So Drake Maverick took that straight away and said, well, look, why don't you use it as a storyline? Which I believe then got him a better contract out of it. He did, for all his misgivings, donate all of the funds that was raised from the sales of his pro wrestling tees to indie talent all over the world. I think he just ran something on Twitter and he just randomly gave it out to different talent. So fair play to him on that. My last two, which are...
Before you go on about that,
yes.
before you say that Drake Maverick thing, So did you read about what Zack Ryder got a phone call of?
The swimming pool. Well, Chelsea Green got the phone call.
Yeah, Chelsea Green.
Even worse.
I couldn't remember her name. The fact that the WWE called Chelsea Green to say, can we use your swimming pool to film Otis and Mandy? We'll get onto that storyline. We'll get there. So then say, can we use your swimming pool? Zack Ryder's just been fired.
It's horrendous.
You just think, what?
It's such a WWE thing. This one now as well, I'm trying to stay away from politics. There is a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now, which I feel the media are kind of funneling us into to try and turn our blind eye away from this huge, what I believe is a deadly disease, coronavirus, but has also been a kind of a social experiment. Maybe that's a podcast for another day. Don't get me wrong, I agree that Black Lives Matter. I don't agree with the violence that's shown. I do think that there's better ways around of doing it. That's my take on it. In the Attitude Era, and then just actually outside the Attitude Era, the WWE did things incorrectly on both sides of this. One of them being the infamous D-Generation X skit, where they all were blacked up and jumped in the ring as the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
And then the other one as well, that it was in my worst entrances, but I'm going to put it into this one. There was a 2 or 3 week period where a Hispanic third generation superstar Chavo Guerrero changed his name to Kerwin White and was this white upper class golf player who had, I can't think what wrestler was his caddy. I think, in fact, his caddy was Dolph Ziggler, I believe. If you go back and watch it, I think the guy who played his caddy was Dolph Ziggler. It's at the time, it's never really relevant, and to do things like that to get a little bit of a cheap pop, I never really agreed with. Danny, your worst storylines, please.
Yeah, and then, once again, these are all kind of recent because I didn't want to go too deep into the past and just muddle all those fond memories of teenage me enjoying wrestling. Because we were never available at that time, so we would just tape Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Even though I guess it was already taped, but we would also tape it on the VHS and then watch it after. But I think most recently the Rusev and Aiden splitting off.
Yeah.
Was it One Night in Missouri or whatever?
The Lana thing. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff I don't like, and there may be a bit of a pattern because also the Bobby
yes,
and Lana wedding.
Even Lana MVP and Bobby Lashley thing now is weird. How has Lana still got a job and Rusev hasn't? How is that happening?
I have an answer, but it's not suitable for podcast.
I like this story a little bit better because I like MVP a lot.
Yeah.
I like the conflict, and if it's gonna lead to them splitting off, because I think Bobby Lashley is a beast, and he just needs to be managed like the beast that he is.
Yes.
He's amazing. Like, I wish he had taken out Lesnar earlier. Like, I think that would have been his, kind of like the handoff.
Yeah.
Like, here you go. Like, take it, Bobby, because he's. And then 2 little things. Eric Rowan's spider thing.
What even was that? It looks like they genuinely went to B&M, or I don't know what the equivalent is of American version of B&M, and just bought this crappy little toy spider and went, this looks kind of scary, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think I love that from the first moment I saw that thing, I was like, this is going to have no payoff at all, ever.
Yeah.
And then I want to say, I know, once again, it's very brief, but the Dark Order version 1, I was not a big fan. I was not a big fan of their introduction, but I'm glad to say that Dark Order version 2,
yes,
it's so much better. Like, once I started doing the little promos online recruiting, like I didn't know about Dark Order. I wasn't familiar with those wrestlers. So when they came in, it was unexpected, but then the gimmick kind of wore out really quickly.
Yeah, that was my first. I've been like Double or Nothing for me is There was the first pay-per-view that I watched completely. I kind of watched like All In and like All Out. I watched them little bits of, but Double or Nothing last year was the first one that I properly watched. So obviously they debuted there, and I was a bit like, oh, who's this? And then it was just kind of like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. This is it, and it kind of fell off a little bit. But I think now the promos, just like the guy when he was up really on like the underground, the subway in America, and it would flash past something, he'd have the mask on, then the mask were off, and they're brilliant. I think what they're doing with that is really good, and it's my only worry is they're kind of cooling off Grayson and Evil Uno a little bit. You're not seeing them as much now. I don't know if one of them's got an injury.
Yeah, I think Dark Order definitely benefits a lot more from having a crowd.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think they may be holding. Go ahead.
I think the problem with the original Dark Order was that they were waiting for, Matt Hardy or Brody Lee. They didn't have that proper leader, where they didn't have anybody who was a recognized name. I mean, I'd never heard of Evil Uno and whatnot before AEW. So, there was. I'm glad it wasn't Matt Hardy. I'm so glad it wasn't Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
I think that would have been terrible. And when I saw it was Brody Lee, I remember scrolling on Facebook like, oh, it's Brody Lee. That's well cool. Like, it's actually going to be good. But that's, I think, why the Dark Order really suffered at first, because they just didn't have the name or the face. It was just, we're good people, and we're going to throw these really terrible punches at Dustin Rhodes, and it's going to look really bad on Dynamite.
Yeah. Oh, that was so funny. I love anything that becomes a gift for wrestling, good or bad.
Yeah.
Apart from the only thing with gifts at the minute is, I mean, Beth Phoenix on Takeover in Your House when Keith Lee pounced Johnny Gargano through the plexiglass. I hated that because I knew it was coming. And Beth Phoenix was like, well, that's going to be a gif. And I was like, oh, don't, you're making gifs not cool. My personal favourite gifs are anything Montez Ford does is a gif. That man is a legend. I mean, to be fair, I watched the things they've been doing at the minute with the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders have been really amusing. They did the decathlon.
It's terrible.
It's so funny.
Let them wrestle.
Well, they've decided now. It just so happened to finish 5-5. I thought, do you know what? Let's just have a match.
I could have took 10 weeks of this rubbish out and just gone and
I think
match.
this stuff is the perfect.
In NXT were amazing. Street Profits in NXT were amazing. Come to Raw. I know we'll go bowling. No, just wrestle.
This is the perfect thing for no crowds, though. Having those vignettes with the, and I'm glad it's
booed?
Yeah.
Okay, James. Worst storylines, please, sir.
So my two are kind of when you said to us do the worst, I was like, first one. This sprung to mind straight away. Kane and Katie Vick.
Oh.
Why was that ever a storyline? Who came up with it? Why? Oh. If you ever listen to the Something to Wrestle With podcast with Bruce Pritchard, even he just refuses to talk about it. He's like, I know how bad that was. We're sorry.
Yeah, there's the What Culture Wrestling podcast, which is something I listen to regularly. The 5-star review that they did one a couple of weeks ago on the Katie Vick, the infamous Katie Vick scene.
May 17th will never be the same again.
No, Katie Vick, happy Katie Vick Day.
Good God. And the other worst one was the whole Muhammad Hassan terrorist angle that they should not have broadcast on SmackDown. Because apparently, from what I got from Something to Wrestle With Bruce Pritchard, UPN didn't get the edited version in time, so they broadcast the original version, which had the terrorist angle in.
Yeah, they did. It didn't get cut when it should have.
Yeah, when, was it like 2 days or a day after the London bombings?
The day after. It was the day after the London bombing.
Yeah, and you're broadcasting that. And then all of a sudden, Muhammad Hassan was just written off. And you know what? He was a great heel. He was a good wrestler. He had good character work. And then because of the fact that they did even if they, obviously nobody knows that kind of thing is going to happen in the real world. Why still film something like that they didn't say they were terrorists? They just made it abundantly obvious that they were doing something that was wrong. Why do that to Muhammad Hassan, who had great potential?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Those are two of the worst. And the only other one that I've just thought about when you mentioned Bobby Lashley's sisters. from last year with Sami Zayn.
Oh, the Sami Zayn promo, yeah, with his sisters.
Yeah, that was also terrible. That was really bad.
Yeah. And it's just a quick honourable mention as well. So I've noted down in the entrance column for some reason. Mae Young and Mark Henry and the birth of the hand. Let's just park that one. No, we'll move on into the second.
I was just going to say, when he turns up, is it Raw 25?
The big hand. Yeah, someone dragged his hand. That bit then goes into the best storylines category, but the entire run up to it was terrible. And we'll be back after the break.
Hi, I'm Matt and this is Matt. We're both 30-somethings and we're fighting the good fight against constant threats of incoming midlife crisis. If you're in the same boat, or if you just enjoy other people's confusion and suffering, why not get involved? Join us as we stumble through the big questions like, why do my hangovers last a week now? And how music's been getting steadily worse since I was 20 years old, and that is a stone cold fact.
But that's not it. We want you to get involved. Why not get in touch? You might be able to suggest a topic of discussion, if you have any worries about ageing, or any funny stories that you have related to turning 30. You can email us at thatthingyoulikeuk@gmail.com or at any of the links below. Find the What's My Head Again podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
And thank you for returning. The second phase of the podcast I want to move on to is the current Wednesday night battle between AEW and NXT, which for me is probably the future of professional wrestling. I made no bones about it. In my first podcast, I kind of said that NXT is the weekly episodic program that I will stay up to watch. I watch it, well, even though they're kind of taping some of them now, but I see it as live. I don't see any spoilers or anything like that. And I'm a huge NXT fan. I'll run through my points for both shows, really, which why I swing into NXT. I just feel that the Undisputed Era stands out massively for me. I think what those guys are doing is superb, and the creative angles that the wrestlers get when they're in NXT, just in NXT. And obviously the flip side to that would be when they're called up. If I were in NXT, would I necessarily want to go to any of the two traditional brands?
It's not even a call-up anymore, is it?
No, it's not.
Death sentence.
AEW, I'll give you a couple of points on each, and then I'll get the same from you guys, and then we'll have a quick chat about both pay-per-views. In fact, we'll stay with NXT. So I've said my points about NXT and how I feel about it. Danny, any plus and negative points that you've got regarding NXT?
So I will say out of both shows, I DVR both, but I try to watch AEW live, and then go back and go watch NXT. I think NXT, they'll sometimes throw a match of two people that are probably not, wrestlers that are still developing, and I understand that's what NXT is for. But sometimes, if you're gonna try to compete for 2 hours in the ring, you need to bring in. There's still a few things that they just look very green.
Which I think AEW do that really well with AEW Dark.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a really good way of bringing guys through.
Yeah, and I think if you really want to see NXT as its own third brand, as opposed to keep being mentioned as, coming up from NXT or going down to NXT, like if you really want to get rid of that, which is tough. I mean, we do it. I know I watch the What Culture guys talk about it all the time. Like they need to stop because they want it. It's on the same level now, right?
Yeah.
In fact, it may be getting more views than Raw pretty soon in the next months or so.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Probably be the best thing to happen.
Yeah. And then my only fear with NXT is that WWE will start to overproduce that show because they are seeing it as the future.
Yeah.
I think the overproduction was abundant in the In Your House.
Oh, no. In Your House is incredible.
We'll get to that. Got some issues with that match, mate.
We'll get your points on NXT then, James, and then if you want to give us your little review, your little wrap-up on In Your House then as well, following that.
Yeah. So I've watched NXT for as long as I can remember. Basically, when I was at uni, I watched NXT over Raw and SmackDown.
Yep.
When it was the very preliminary, where it was Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way.
Yes, what a match that was.
Fantastic match. When, then it got to the Finn Balor and Hideo Itami, Kevin Owens, all them coming in. And then
I've got a full story later on one of Finn Balor's entrances as well. I'm going to get the picture up for that now. Continue, sir.
And then it was also, then it went to Gargano and Ciampa, and they had the 2-year rivalry, which is one of the greatest bits of storytelling, which I can't believe I didn't mention earlier. The whole, from DIY up to TakeOver Chicago, one of them.
Street Fight, or the unsanctioned Street Fight were at Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, and then they overproduced that match on NXT. That was the 60-minute. Yeah, that was a drag to watch.
Yes.
So basically, NXT to me has always been the better brand out of the three, and I think it has been for a long time.
Yeah.
I would watch NXT over any of the other two by a long stretch. I just think that the way that it is now, some of the upcoming stars in it, some of the main people in it, I think are brilliant. You've got Keith Lee, who I think is going to be. I think he could be the one to take it off Adam Cole. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Whenever they have Night of Champions, they could do a champion versus champion match.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be good with that. Is it Night of Champions or Night of the Champions now?
It depends on whatever side of the bed Vince wakes up on.
Yeah, that's true. So do you want me to go into In Your House?
Yeah, talk to me about In Your House.
So I've literally got some notes that I'm just going to read them. I only watched it today. Thank you, Reece, for your network, because otherwise I'd have been really in trouble with that. First of all, there was a crowd there, which was nice.
Yeah.
It actually gave it a bit of a feel that it was live. Mauro Ranallo is still my favourite play-by-play guy. I think he's fantastic.
Yes.
The 6-woman tag match, I try and read it. Tegan Knox, Shotzi Blackheart, and some other ladies who I'm very sorry, that's very rude that I can't remember all the names.
It was Mia Yim, and then on the heels, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai.
Yeah. That match was just, it would have fit on any NXT.
Shotzi Blackheart, there were a couple of botches from Shotzi as well in that match. That Raquel Gonzalez, low-key saves her very early. I think he's the first dive of the match. Shotzi does outside. She catches her legs on the ropes. Gonzalez luckily does about 3 steps forward and catches her. That could have been very, very wrong, that.
Yeah, it was just okay. It would have been fine on any NXT. It's not a takeover match in my eyes. But, it was good for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Balor versus Priest. The main thing about that was Priest's bump.
The back bump. Wow.
Oh. My back hurt watching that, and I'm overweight sat on a couch in the middle of Todmorden, which nobody knows what that is. And that pained me watching that. Balor winning was probably the right thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But where does Balor go from here? I don't want him to win the NXT title. He doesn't need it.
Wait until Walter comes back. Wait until Walter can get back.
Yeah, let Walter because then it's TakeOver Dublin supposed to be in November, isn't it?
Yes.
They moved it to November. So if Balor and Walter could have a fight, that would be.
I'd also be up for a card as well, with it being in Dublin. Hopefully that's when we get the payoff with the Cruiserweight title. El Fantasma against Devlin. It'd be a banger in Dublin as well.
Yeah. And probably just bring in Sheamus to fight somebody as well in that. I don't know. I kind of like the thought of Sheamus and Keith Lee. I think that would just be 2 guys kicking the heck out of each other.
That's a lot of beef.
That's a lot of beef. Keith Lee, funnily enough, beat Gargano, which again I'm okay with. Keith Lee shouldn't lose that title anytime soon unless he's going to go on to the main title.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that.
Yeah. Heel Gargano is he can't lose. I mean, he can lose all he wants. He's not going to lose any of his heat.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to be fair, I like Danny's idea of maybe let's go for Night of Champions and let's have that when, because I believe Night of Champions November or December?
Normally October, November.
So, I mean, ideally you could look at that being a point of maybe let's then take the Undisputed Era off TV. Let Keith Lee be a double champion for a little bit. Take them off TV. Adam Cole comes back, possibly wins the Rumble. I mean, I've already said I feel that the Rumble winner next year will be either Big E or Aleister Black. I'm going to tell you that now. One of them two men will win the Royal Rumble.
I think it'll be an NXT guy. But,
or it could be Adam Cole. Maybe this is how they bring him up. Who knows? Carry on, sir. I do apologise.
Yeah. So, does anybody else struggle to care as much about Gargano when he's not involved with Ciampa?
Do you know what? At first, I was a little bit like that, but now I understand the character more. I think it's brilliant.
I just think Gargano is a much better face than he is a heel, and Ciampa is a better heel than he is a face. And at the moment, it's the other way around. Yeah. And I think I care more with Gargano when it's involved with Ciampa. But again, that's just me.
I really like this Gargano and Candice. I think it's giving them room to do something different. And we'll see how long it lasts. But I think Gargano, like I said, Ciampa and Gargano, they're just gonna be there now to like push people up.
Yeah, they
send them. They're like that's their house, and they're gonna keep it. They're like the guys you got to get past, the gatekeepers. You got to get past those two.
Of course. Really... And I think it opens up then as well. I think they've been really clever with it. They've changed Gargano's music, but Ciampa's kept his, which I feel Ciampa's got that aura around him. He has now said in interviews that he'd be willing to go up to the main roster for a little bit. I genuinely feel, and again, it's something that I actually said on my previous podcast, which now there's been a little bit of a Twitter beef there between Randy Orton and Tommaso Ciampa over the last couple of days. For me, I actually touted Tommaso Ciampa as a next opponent for Edge. They both have very similar neck injuries. I think they'd be able to work extremely well together. If Edge goes over Randy Orton in this, it's definitely not going to be the greatest wrestling match ever.
With Stone Cold as the referee, so everybody has a neck injury.
There we go. In every corner match we'll have. Kurt Angle's in there as well. He's the outside enforcer. Yeah. But I just think they've been clever because if you picture the scene when crowds are back, if we've got this big face champion in the ring and Ciampa or Edge is in the ring celebrating and Tommaso Ciampa's music kicks and he comes out, the crowd are going to go wild. But then as well, if you've got, you know what I mean, it's great. And then as well, if you've got like this big heel champion, I mean, let's say. I don't want to use Bobby Lashley because I don't think it'd work. Let's say Kevin Owens as a heel or AJ Styles. In fact, AJ Styles is the one. AJ Styles becomes Universal Champion at some stage. He's cutting a big heelish promo and then they give, honourable mention in my entrances, Johnny Gargano, his old theme music, Rebel Heart, comes on and he comes out as the big face to challenge AJ Styles. The wrestling would be incredible and if anyone from WWE Creative is watching, book it now.
Yeah, give me 40 minutes of that.
Yeah, I'd happily take that.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll get you those 5 stars you want.
That's what we're talking about. And go on, James. We've got your thoughts on the Adam Cole.
It was just,
for me, it was garbage.
It was horrific. It was. Sorry, I've dropped one of the earphones. I'm not just leaning down for no reason. It was I just didn't enjoy it. I just thought it was bad. It was very short, and it seems that NXT haven't quite got this cinematic match down to where the main roster have. I don't know whether that's down to production value or whatnot. I don't know.
Money in the Bank was horrific.
But you look at the
Boneyard match was great.
Boneyard.
The Bray Wyatt stuff.
Funhouse was great. Money in the Bank was bad, and I watched that, and I've watched it once, and I won't be watching it again because why is Otis won? But anyway, why is there all these cuts, and why can't you see what's going on? It's so dark, and you just can't see what's going on.
I agree.
For most of it, why was there an Uber? Why was that? Why that wasn't funny? I didn't laugh. I just looked at it. I was like, that's just stupid. It was literally just if you want to fight in a car. Just go fight in a car. You don't have to get an Uber. Unless they were sponsors NXT, I don't see why they did that.
Why did Adam Cole choose to get away in whatever normal sedan that was? When there was a Lamborghini, a monster truck, he was next to a Range Rover. He chose the way. You knew as soon as he got in that car, I thought, he's going to smash that up a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just going to beat that up. That's a cheap car they got for like.
Oh, you can't smash the Lambo.
Corner.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I think it was really. So I thought it was really funny when they fought through the Uber. I didn't think the Uber being there was funny, but once they were like, "All right, we're already here," that the fact that they actually wrestled through the Uber.
Yeah, fair play.
Like, that's ridiculous. Like,
fair play. I'll give them that.
The lady just drives off. I hope she got 5 stars.
Yeah, I hope she did. I hope they helped her out with that.
Yeah, they've got it done. So then, Undisputed Era come in. You kind of knew that was always going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
And then Dexter Lumis comes out from under there. He's a terrifying man.
They did the storyline. His storyline in Impact or TNA, when he was basically, at first you thought he was going to be he was very, very similar, but then it just turned out that he had a mannequin in his room that he dressed up as Christy Hemme, pictures of her all over walls, and he was probably going to rape and murder this woman. That was his story,
wow.
And he soon stopped it. Genuinely, he was obsessed with Christy Hemme as an in-ring. She was the in-ring announcer and a backstage interviewer, and he would just turn up and stare at her, and he kept bringing her flowers, and he'd like stroke her face, and then it was all okay at first. Then they started doing vignettes in his house, where he would be in his house and it was fine, and then very Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, he would like open a door, and there was pictures of her plastered all over all the walls. He had a fake mannequin that he dressed in her clothes that he used to grope and put in bed with him. It all got a bit weird, and they complained that much about it, they stopped it. And literally, Vince has watched that and gone, yeah, let's do it again.
And that's what
they're doing.
You know what's worse? We all thought Vince Russo was a bad writer.
No, listen.
And those guys on TNA are doing stuff like that.
The legend that is Vince Russo actually follows this podcast on Twitter. Hello, Vince.
Excellent. Hello, Vince. Anyway, Dexter Lumis.
Sorry, sir, Dexter Lumis.
Dexter Lumis is probably going to be a future star, but I'm just not sold. I don't really get him. No. He's just a bit off his head, to be honest.
Very much needs a crowd, I feel, Dexter Lumis.
He may only work. He may only work on NXT. I don't know if.
I don't
know how to book him in Raw or SmackDown.
No.
The Panama Sunrise is probably one of my favourite moves at the moment. It's just a thing of beauty. The way that Dream sold it. A couple of close calls, and then when the position on the card, you knew that Dream wasn't winning that.
Yeah,
you knew.
Of course.
So if it was a main event, you'd have probably thought, "Oh, Dream's going to win this."
Yeah.
No. Then it was Cross and Ciampa. Killian Cross is terrifying, and I think he's going to be a fantastic heel. And I want him to destroy everybody on that roster. I think he is brilliant. His entrance,
that match perfectly. Entrance is on my list. It's
on my list as well. It was one of the first ones. His NXT original one, where Scarlett Bordeaux's mouth along is very over the top.
She actually is singing that song, though. She is on the track. She is officially singing that.
Oh, I did not know that.
It is. It's her singing.
Yeah, I think they did really well with that. Hopefully we get to see a bit of a longer match next time with them. I kind of want to see Ciampa try and get his...
I kind of want him to just squash everyone.
Yeah, just roll.
No matter what. Yeah, like go through all those people that are in the crowd.
Just have him run wild. I think if they do this correctly, I think his look especially makes it. He's very aesthetically. He's a similar size, height-wise, to Damian Priest, but obviously he's a lot beefier than Damian Priest is. If they book this correctly, he could smash his way to the top and then just walk away from NXT. I mean, Asuka was injured and had to give up the NXT Women's title and she ended undefeated. I want to see Cross go on an undefeated streak, a la Goldberg in the WCW at first. I want to see Cross come up to the main roster.
No tasers though.
No tasers. I want to see Karrion Kross come to the main roster and just do what he's doing now. Imagine if Karrion Kross has a main roster debut and, I'm talking
destroy Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan.
AJ Styles. And literally, in 3 minutes, bang, done. I'm all for that.
Couple of suplexes, and then the
cross jacket.
Submission, the cross jacket, that's it. I thought it was good. I think that Cross is terrifying, and I really want to see him just destroy people. And then eventually, I'd kind of like to see maybe maybe Ciampa has another match with him and it's a bit longer. Ciampa tries to get redemption, still can't beat him. And maybe when Cross does go up, Ciampa comes up, and then, you get that carry on.
Yeah.
That'd be quite cool to see. But again, I prefer Ciampa as a heel, so maybe they can just move on and turn Ciampa heel again. And then the main event, Io Shirai won. That was good. Why did Charlotte beat Rhea? Why did she bother? What was the point in Rhea Ripley losing that NXT Women's Championship?
They feel Charlotte's a draw. They thought Charlotte were going to help them win the Wednesday night battles, and it's not worked.
It's not a battle. It's not a battle.
Listen, to Vince, it's a battle.
Vince is...
For me, on NXT, I think Todd Pettingill is brilliant. I've been able to watch back. As soon as In Your House was mentioned, I knew, obviously, the first In Your House that I watched, ironically, was the last In Your House, which was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, when obviously it was just before WrestleMania. Big Show debuted.
Big Show appeared, yeah.
Yeah. So we got that in there. That was really cool. So I've watched some of them back, and I just think the little callbacks they did were really cool. I'm a massive Io Shirai fan. I like the fact that she won the belt. I agree with...
I think she's great. I just think, why didn't they let Io Shirai beat Rhea Ripley?
I think we're going to get a Rhea Ripley and Io feud, and then I think Rhea Ripley and Charlotte will get revisited. Maybe around WrestleMania season next year, I think that'll get a big payoff. I think we'll have to wait for it, but I think we'll get a payoff. The opening thing...
Charlotte doing the page... Sorry. Charlotte doing the page, this is my house, and wearing, like, similar to Paige's old ring gear was really cool as well. That was a nice little... Paige was like the first NXT women... Well, she was the first NXT women's champion. Yep. And she was one of the best. And she went up to the main roster and did all this, and then sadly she had to retire. But I think that was a pretty cool callback.
Yeah.
So In Your House was... Anyone else got any thoughts about In Your House?
I agree with you. I've not really got much more to add to that. Danny, anything you want to add on In Your House before we look at Double or Nothing?
No. I really enjoyed it. This is the first In Your House I ever watched because I never got to watch any of the original ones. I think DX playing with the computer was really funny because they fully embraced, like, we're old men now, like,
Have you seen the GIF, or the meme, of Shawn Michaels typing with his index fingers from like the 90s all the way? He's still doing it now. He's just
still doing it,
yeah. Yeah, it was good. I love Io Shirai. I think she should have been champion a long time ago. I'm glad she finally became champion. Although, I love Rhea Ripley too. So either one would have been great. I think they'll have a rivalry going on. It just
who's the heel in that though?
Yeah.
Who's the heel?
Shirai's the heel.
I don't even know that you need one. This is just like, we're just so good at wrestling, like we're just gonna wrestle forever.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Kind of like with
I hate that fight forever champ. Sorry.
With Keith Lee and what's his name?
Dominic Dijakovic.
Yeah, Dijakovic. There was really no heel or either.
No,
they were just giving us,
They were fantastic as well.
Yeah. So, NXT has probably the best women's division anywhere. Yeah. At least on the wrestling that I watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming up.
Yeah, that's cool. For me, I want to touch on a couple of things for AEW. I think AEW are really leading with storylines. I think they're doing a lot of clever stuff. I think they're overbearing a little bit on the whole manager thing. I think having managers with everybody is a little bit... They're doing that too much now. I think one or two to begin with. But now, you've got Jake Roberts as a manager, Arn Anderson, Taz. Matt Hardy's near enough now going to be a manager for Private Party, who I believe... I would love to see a match between Private Party and the Street Profits. That would be... And the Young Bucks. Give me that tag team triple threat. That'd be incredible.
Can we put FTR in there as well?
And FTR, why not? That's a fatal four-way we all want to see. Cody Rhodes. Touch on Cody real quick. I don't like the Cody Rhodes character. It's too fake. It's too false. He's going to turn heel at some point. I'm just completely switched off whenever Cody's on my screen. He has to have... I'm just not a Cody fan. It's just for me, I just don't agree with him. On the other side, I think AEW have got some incredible future stars. MJF, Jungle Boy. But I don't... The big thing that everybody were worried about with empty arena shows, everybody was, Orange Cassidy will flop. Orange Cassidy is the biggest draw in wrestling right now.
I hate it. I hate the character. I just don't understand it. When I
heard about him, when I found out who he was, I hated it. I watched him for the first time. I couldn't, no matter what he does, I want to see it. I watched him do Brandy Rhodes' cooking show on YouTube for 22 minutes the other day.
Me too.
Anything that he does, I want to see it. Orange Cassidy is incredible. And as I'm going to move on to Double or Nothing was the big... Tony Khan gave Vince the biggest middle finger in the world ever, because that Stadium Stampede... That Stadium Stampede literally walks all over Money in the Bank. Like, I loved the Matt Hardy changing what he was wearing. The bar fight...
I've always said for years that wrestling needs more horses in it.
Yeah,
and the fact that there was a horse at the start of that match was fantastic.
The fact... The 2 weeks previous, when Sammy Guevara got run over by the golf cart, was one of the most horrendous, horrifying, yet best things I have ever seen in professional wrestling.
That's where wrestling gifts come into light. That's the best wrestling gift ever. And there's so many memes of it.
The bar fight between Jake Hager and Adam Page was incredible. I love the fact that they've put the belt on Hikaru Shida. I think she's really, really good. She then probably will never, ever be in the spotlight that now Britt Baker has now got. I think Britt Baker has kind of took over the man moniker from Becky Lynch kind of thing. I think she's probably the shining light in women's wrestling right now. The way that the things that Britt Baker's doing, I personally think is incredible. FTR coming in now, he's great. I want to see more Lucha Brothers in there. I really like those guys. But yeah,
Ray Phoenix is still injured, isn't he?
Phoenix is injured. He is. But I can't understand. I think it's because of what's going on and stuff. That's why we're not seeing Pentagon Jr.
Yeah, I think Pentagon's still doing stuff in AAA, isn't he?
Yeah, that man is one crazy mother flipper. Dan, AEW, give me any bits you've got for AEW and any bits on Double or Nothing as well.
So about AEW, I really never followed wrestling outside of WWE for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, I think Kenny Omega was the first draw when he was doing stuff in Japan. And then I heard about the Young Bucks. And then if you remember when Cody had a match with Stephen Amell from Arrow.
Yes.
I was at that convention in Dallas where he interrupted the panel.
Right, okay.
As Stardust and challenged. So I like Cody. I understand kind of the qualms you have about him. It's definitely understandable because he is so much better as a heel. So when it was a lot of people that I liked, then Jericho going over, like it just drew me in. I started watching.
A little bit of the bubbly is something that after that promo. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. The pub that I work in, James, James Connonoff, and Matt and everyone, and I kind of took a little bit of the bubbly, a little bit too serious. I have got a ridiculous over the top sparkly sequin suit jacket that I've been known to wear on occasion, and I kind of took it upon myself after watching Jericho cut that promo. When we were going out on nights out, we have Sunday night drinking sessions where we'll go out, we do a little bit of karaoke like with a group of us, and I started at first buying bottles of Prosecco. Then when things started getting a little bit out of hand, it transpired that my New Year's resolution was to buy a bottle of champagne every week this year. Until coronavirus hit, I was 2 weeks in front. Got a few weeks to make up on now. But that, a little bit of the bubbly, was how Jericho did that organically was, I love Chris Jericho. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah, no,
you also got the best entrance music. I think Judas. Oh, yeah. Sammy Guevara singing that, and you can see Jericho's face where he's like, I can't laugh at this.
Well,
it's one of the funniest things ever. Sorry, Danny.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of AEW right now is that things are just happening. They're happening organically.
Yes.
Like the people chanting on the cruise. I was singing along to the song on the cruise. Like it just happened. Like all the memes happened organically. Jericho becoming Le Champion. Just like Mox. I love the character. I like Dean Ambrose as when he was in WWE, even through all the bad storylines. But I was a big fan of him. I loved that stupid clothesline from the second rope. I don't know why I love it so much.
I used to love that. You never saw it coming.
But but then once I was introduced to the character of Mox, I was like, where has this guy been all these years? Why is this not the guy you've been pushing for years?
Exactly.
As much as I enjoy the Shield, like,
no,
why is this not the dude? So,
he's the superior. So some of his matches from the G1 last year, incredible.
The only thing I ever saw of Moxley was when he was in CZW and he's calling out Batista, and he's like drunk in a hallway, and he's like holding the CZW belt and he's calling out Batista. He's like, I want to fight Batista. He's like, Batista retired, but I want to fight him. Yeah. That's the only thing of John Moxley I ever saw. But then I kind of read about when he left WWE. I was like, oh, okay, let's see how violent he is. And then they had Full Gear.
Oh, that podcast with
John Moxley. Actually, that was like
that episode of the Jericho's podcast with Mox.
Yeah,
it's great. I mean, it confirms a lot of things we already kind of figured was going on, but
it just confirms everything Punk said about 7 years ago now? 6 years ago?
Colt Cabana. I had never seen Colt Cabana wrestle. So,
really? I'd seen him. I'd seen a couple of his Ring of Honor.
Hi, Colt Cabana.
Yeah, hey Colt, we see you. Thank you for listening. But there's a few things I think with AEW. It's hard for me because I've always been WWE, but I find myself on a weekly basis leveling the two things out. I'll tell you now, I can't split AEW and NXT. I can't.
There's one thing that divides it for me.
Okay.
The women's division.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to bring that up.
Yes.
And I honestly, the NXT women's division is, but like Danny said earlier, it's the best women's division going at the moment. Yep. It's better than Raw, it's better than SmackDown, and it's a heck of a lot better than AEW's.
Of course.
And there's no offense to the ladies of AEW. They're very, very talented, and they're all very good. I struggle to watch some of it. I just think it was Statlander, the alien, and Penelope Ford. And I'm just watching that, I'm thinking, this could be a lot better. It just wasn't great. I mean, it's not like Nia Jax bad, but it's bad.
Oh, Nia Jax.
I definitely feel it is still being developed, but not so much. I think the wrestling is on par with other stuff. It's just the storylines, the kind of things that they're doing to bring in, to separate. It kind of feels like all the women in the division, they're all fighting for the title, but they're all kind of stuck in that funnel.
Yes.
Whereas in NXT, you have multiple storylines going on with the women, even if they end up going like in one big tag match for the pay-per-view.
There's still stories interwoven into that.
Exactly. So I think if they get one or two more really strong characters like Britt Baker, who's a perfect heel, and now you got the new champion, you can kind of have two things going parallel, and then that would probably help. It would help keep interest. Like even if let's say there's 3 matches all night for the women's division. If 2 out of the 3 are things you're interested in, that's going to keep you following the women's division, right?
Of course.
And even the Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose match, I just can't get into the AEW. I know it's Kenny Omega's producing them all.
He is.
But I think that the talent just isn't where it could be.
I think they're overproducing it for the talent that they've got.
Yeah, definitely. And, there are women's wrestlers out there. I mean, there's Tessa Blanchard still with Impact. I don't know where she is at the moment.
She's the current Impact World Champion. The actual world champion.
She's beating everybody, women, men, anything that comes into the ring. She'll take care of it.
Bringing her to AEW would make a massive difference, but then who does she go against? Whereas if, the women's division to me, I just struggle with AEW. That's the big point.
Mm-hmm.
That is their biggest letdown.
It feels a little bit to me like 205 which I love the wrestling in 205 Live, but there are no stories that kind of hook me. It's the same thing with the women's division. The matches are good matches. Like, they're, I think for the most part, anyone you pair up, it's going to be a good match.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not interested in some of the characters that, other than Britt Baker. Like Britt Baker is,
brilliant,
man, fucking amazing character. I think
she is. I think what she is doing is fantastic, and I think with rumours circulating at the minute around Adam Cole's contract with NXT, kind of conflicting things. Some people are saying it's up in September, October. Others are saying that when they signed the deal with the USA Network, certain talent were offered extended, better money contracts, and he signed for another 18 months to 2 years. Fingers crossed he has, but if not...
Yeah, I don't want Adam Cole in AEW.
If Adam Cole goes, put Adam Cole and Britt Baker together. I know that for probably the first couple of months we'll have to put up with Adam Cole and Britt Baker against Cody and Brandy, probably, because Cody has to be in everything that's done in AEW. Sorry, Cody.
I'd be all right with Adam Cole and Cody, though. Just I don't...
Yeah, I'm not super big on the couple storylines either. No. Like when Seth Rollins and Lynch.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know they were together. I never knew they were together until they mentioned it every 10 seconds on Raw.
Yeah, right.
I was aware about the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and I love Becky Lynch, and Seth Rollins as a heel is so much better. So like, let them do their own thing.
Yeah,
I think Cole and Britt Baker would just probably, because their heel characters a little bit more similar, it might work. But I don't mind that they're doing their stuff separately. Like, I like Cole in WWE. Bring the Undisputed Era to be the main stable to just run everything.
Yeah.
That's
a shout. Anything, do you want to touch on anything from Double or Nothing before we move into our last phase?
The only thing I'd say from Double or Nothing is Moxley beating Brody. The way that it did probably saved Brody.
Yeah, I think that's why they did it. They couldn't have pinned him clean. I don't think if they'd have pinned him clean, it would have kind of diminished a little bit.
That had demolished the whole Dark Order if he'd lost. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with that now. With Brian Cage debuting as well, I don't really get what's going to happen with the world title scene. It seems that they're just going to... They're holding out. It feels like they're holding out.
I feel.
Do what?
I feel they've debuted him for Moxley to beat him. In my honest opinion, if you was going to ask, which is actually, I'll ask you two guys. I mean, for me, the person who will take the AEW title off Moxley, I thoroughly believe will be Chris Jericho again. I think Jericho will be a two-time champion. I think he'll only be a transitional champion, but I think Jericho will take the belt off Moxley.
I'm going to say Omega.
Omega?
They've got unfinished business after Full Gear. They said that they weren't done with each other. It's a good way of turning Kenny heel as well.
Yeah, give me that.
If you want to keep Moxley as the face,
give me that.
Which I'm okay with because he's not a proper baby face.
Yeah.
He's Moxley. I think that'd be a good way of turning Kenny heel and letting Kenny, because Kenny said that there's a lot more for him to come in AEW.
Yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't the first champion. But I think now he's getting towards a time where maybe I don't think Moxley's ready to lose it yet, but I think.
I think he'll have a good run.
I think what I want, and they may, I don't think they've set this up, but I want Brody Lee to take the title from Moxley in like maybe within the next 6 months or 9 months, like where after he goes through a few challengers like Brian Cage and some of these other guys. Yeah. The Dark Order has recruited more people, and then they put him. If you guys are familiar with the
I am going to now
Bane just
move on to the last part of the podcast.
Whole week,
but we'll do it the other way around so that we finish on a high.
Only to finally defeat.
I am going to give you now my. It's a list. There's not really much explanation behind mine. I'm going to give you my worst entrances and entrance music because there's a bit of a schmoz of both.
Maintain,
I hate Roman Reigns' entrance. Every time he punches the floor, I want to punch myself in the face.
Thing where This is not the last time we see Brody Lee going after the championship.
Which makes the fireworks go off. Yeah,
what we've just said just proves how much
EC3's entrance in WWE, you know, the whole point of the letters, that really irritated me. I've touched on Kerwin White.
More than one person through on it, and you know the debut when he's really enthusiastically pointing at the letters, you know, and then you see.
Well, we need a Royal Rumble.
Just like me.
We need a Royal Rumble to tell us who the next champion is going to be.
The Kerwin White one I've kind of touched on. Every time Hornswoggle enters, it's terrible. Like it shouldn't happen. CM Punk, when he did his entrance as Jeff Hardy, and he come out in face paint, full gear, pretending to be drunk. I weren't really a fan of that. My big two are. Pardon, sorry.
I missed that one. I think
so. Yeah, CM Punk and Jeff Hardy were feuding over the world title. And CM Punk cut a promo saying how he's really straight edge and how people shouldn't look up to Jeff Hardy and he's not a role model for kids. And then a little bit later on in the episode of SmackDown, Jeff Hardy's music comes on and it's Punk dressed as Hardy, pretending to be drunk and everything else. And it's definitely worth a watch. My two standouts, I can't not mention, the cat is back for the podcast. I can't not mention the Shockmaster falling through a wall, which was just brilliant.
Does that even count as an entrance?
Of course it does. It does now. It's on my podcast.
Okay, there we go.
My worst one is from last year's WrestleMania. The Triple H and his bikes and Batista and his entourage of fans. Batista fell getting into the ring and then had to stand in the ring and wait for ages because they couldn't get the escalades off the entranceway. Yeah, they're my worst ones. Danny, give me yours, please.
I don't know why, I really dislike Shayna Baszler's entrance. The grinding.
It's just so nothing, isn't it? Yeah, it's just nothing.
I have Shayna Baszler's entrance music as one of my songs where I'm running. It's weirdly motivational, I find.
Yeah. I don't know, like it feels weird, like her doing the sign thing. I feel like she just needs to like. She's just such a badass that she doesn't need to do anything as she goes into the ring. Like, you know?
Yeah, like Ciampa doesn't do anything when he comes to the ring.
Yeah, exactly. I hate Lana/Emelina's music entrance.
Yes, it's the same. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I was like, because the whole Emelina thing was so weird. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why did Lana get new music? And why is it that bad song from Emelina?
Yeah, that's a good shout. I like that.
And then I'm going to say Dolph Ziggler, but with the caveat of the quiet entrance Dolph Ziggler.
That was cool. His normal music is terrible.
Really? That's funny because I like his normal music, but I don't like... I just don't like the whole disc scratching, it, like, because it has to get your attention, right?
Yeah.
And then everything going dark. I think that was so weird. That emo Dolph was such a weird character.
Emo Dolph, and as well as 1 week only brown short hair Dolph. That was really weird as well. I didn't like that. I struggled with that one for a little bit. James,
I don't like Dolph Ziggler at all. But
it was weird that Eric Bischoff's just come out and said that if he was to ever get another wrestling company and be in charge of it, the first person he'd sign would be Dolph Ziggler. And that is why, Eric. That is why.
Why you?
Hey, listen, Dolph is a worker and he's consistent and he'll put on a good match
when he wants to.
I'll say that. Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler lost all his momentum after he beat Seth Rollins at 2014 Survivor Series, and when Sting debuted.
Yes.
He's not been relevant. He's not been relevant since then. He hasn't done anything worthy.
Well, he won the U.S. title, and then they just made him drop it like the next night, which is the weirdest
thing. Then he
thing.
did the worst ever Royal Rumble return. Came out at number 30 and was literally gone 2 seconds later.
Yeah,
that was awful. James, your worst entrances, please.
I'll cast your mind back to the 2016 Royal Rumble.
2016.
Number 3.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
Camera on Roman Reigns.
Why is Roman Reigns on camera? Why does anybody care what Roman Reigns' reaction is? Go to the screen. It says I am phenomenal. It says AJ Styles. Hear the crowd. And then all of a sudden, they just get him as he comes through his little entrance with the hood.
So
that still infuriates me to this day.
I didn't know who AJ Styles was.
Really?
One of the greatest Royal Rumble surprise entrances ever. And they just messed it up.
They also botched in a very similar, like, late trying to kind of save. They did a similar thing with Ronda Rousey at the end of the very first Women's Rumble. If you look at the reaction when the music comes on, and you've heard the music and you've seen the screen but without a name, they're still focused on everybody in the ring, and you see everybody around the ring react and pop before they send it to Ronda Rousey on the entrance. Again, they messed that up. James, the rest of your bad ones, please.
Do anyone remember Paul Burchill's pirate entrances?
Yes.
I hated them. They were bad. He just swinging from one side, and that was it.
As soon as you've said Paul Burchill's pirate, I now just think of the pirate character from Dodgeball. I can't see Paul Burchill. I can just see the angry pirate from Dodgeball.
Pirate Steve.
Pirate Steve.
Pirate Steve, yeah. Those are the two that immediately jumped out. I couldn't really think of any bad entrances because I think the entrances are one of my favourite parts.
Yeah.
And the only other bad ones I can think of is whenever Triple H comes out on a tricycle.
Yeah.
Always bad when he comes out on multiple. I think one year he came out on the Terminator was a bad one. The only other bad entrance I can think of off the top of my head now was Undertaker's at 31 when it's still daylight.
Oh,
yeah.
It just takes away the whole. Oh, it's Undertaker. No, it's just.
There was also
it's just a very old man.
The Undertaker entrance where he was set on fire by his pyro at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah,
and he's pouring water over himself in the pod. I'm going to go on. Sorry, Danny, have you got one in there?
I was just going to say that also when the ramp is like 50 yards long, it really takes away from the entrances.
Yes.
I think there was a Royal Rumble, I think.
The greatest Rumble, I think, and one of the Royal Rumbles where they had to get him in a car and take them down to the ring. And I think it incorrectly showed Braun Strowman at one point, kind of in this golf buggy holding on for his leg. He looked like a giant baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go with that. I'm gonna touch on my greatest ever entrances, and there is a serious amount of mentions here that I've got to put in.
I'll just chime in if one of mine's on your list.
Okay, so obviously it goes without saying, The Undertaker, just because it's The Undertaker, it still pops. As soon as you hear that gong, it's going to get you. The Stone Cold return, of course, when he saved the invasion. And again, just any Stone Cold return, I feel. I'm not afraid to say that I cried with excitement when Edge returned at the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah.
That was a big moment for me. The Hardy Boys at WrestleMania a couple of years back also popped me. I was lucky enough, I went to the Monday Night Raw that was in London after that, and they didn't wrestle on that card, but they came out to have a stare down with Sheamus and Cesaro, so they got a little bit of a pyro and an entrance on that as well.
If you ask me, that's probably the biggest pop I remember from me personally. That's the last one that I was like, I lost my shit.
Yeah, it was huge for me. I'll give you that. I've been lucky enough to see the Enzo and Cass entrance live, which it's cheesy, but it's brilliant. Io Shirai's entrance music I love. Guilty Pleasure, the Iconics entrance theme.
No.
Bray Wyatt's original entrance, being a Firefly in the crowd, I've done that. The CM Punk return, we've also mentioned. Rusev's tank at WrestleMania. The NWO, just because it's the NWO. And then I've mentioned Rebel Heart by Johnny Gargano, but my top three are probably going to be Adam Cole's entrance, the Adam Cole baby. That's one of the things that I want to be a part of. I want to witness that live. Demon Finn Balor.
I've done that.
Have you done that? I'm jealous.
Went to NXT tournament in the UK when it was in London.
Yes.
And it was the 6-man tag. It was Undisputed Era versus British Strong Style.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm very jealous. On that, I want to talk Demon Finn Balor, something that I will send to you both personally. They did NXT TakeOver London in 2015. That was in the December. Now, on Halloween that year, Finn Balor asked people to tweet him pictures of themselves in fancy dress. I went out that night, full contacts, face paint, suit jacket and hat, a la Jack the Ripper, and tweeted it to Finn Balor. And I was one of the only 3 people that he actually retweeted. And I was the most liked and retweeted out of the 3. Fast forward 2 months to take over London, Finn Balor come out as Jack the Ripper with a face paint on. Finn, you ripped me off. You know it. I'm saying
you're all royalties.
The number one best entrance for me that gets me every single time, and he stands out for me. I'm going back to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Shinsuke Nakamura with Lee England Jr. The violin played live. I didn't like it when Nita Strauss did it at WrestleMania. I wasn't a fan. But Nakamura's entrance with the violin, they did it again on SmackDown, which for me was, I remember being devastated that Nakamura had gone to SmackDown. I was away at the time. I was over in Liverpool and I woke up in the hotel and we'd watch WrestleMania at home, and then because it's always my birthday weekend, WrestleMania. It's usually either falls for my weekend or it's just after. It's just before, just after. So I'm always away after it. And I woke up in the hotel and I was watching The Miz and Maurice doing the John Cena, Nikki Bella thing. And I was hungover to shit in bed. And I'm watching it on my iPad. And the camera panned round to Lee England. Hangover was gone. I actively, we're talking 9 in the morning, went straight over to the minibar, opened beer, woke up my girlfriend screaming, Nakamura, Nakamura. And to this day, it is my ringtone on my phone. It's between that and Bobby Roode's Glorious for my alarm tone. That Lee England version of the Nakamura theme is my number one. I love it. I absolutely love it. Danny, any others that you want to add for great entrances?
Yeah, although I'm not the biggest fan of Jinder Mahal, his entrance music is really good. His song is really good. I really like that. You already touched on a few of them. I think we already talked about Ciampa as well.
Yep.
His song.
It's the no entrance Ciampa music that I love. When he enters with no music at TakeOver New Orleans.
Yes,
and he just gets booed. And everybody just like, words.
Yeah, you touched on a few, but I think one of my favorites all time is anytime you have Eddie Guerrero in the lowrider.
Yes,
I love
of
course.
It.
I mean, so I've growing up, I did go watch Lucha Libre in Mexico, and anytime any wrestlers that I saw when I was a kid, that I would see him, like, that's one of the reasons I would watch WCW was to check out the cruiserweights.
Yeah, the cruiserweight division in WCW was incredible.
Yeah, because Juvie, like, I met him and his dad, and like when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
So Psychosis, like La Parca, all those guys, and then just seeing Ray back here, and then Eddie, becoming the champion. But like anytime he would come out in a lowrider, I would love it. Like I think it's one of my favorite things. I really like Rhea Ripley's music, even though her stomping is a little weird, but I think the music is very solid. And then you already mentioned Io Shirai's her new music.
Her new music is brilliant. Her new music is brilliant. And one that I didn't mention actually as well, which I can't understand, which is now worst and best. Seth Rollins' new music, I hate. The Burn It Down theme, awesome. But it fits the character.
Yeah. There's 2 of my best ones that I'm amazed that neither of you's mentioned.
Okay.
The Fiend's SummerSlam entrance, the first time we saw The Fiend.
The Fiend! When he broke Finn Balor's neck.
Yeah. And then my ultimate favourite entrance ever, 2002, Madison Square Garden, Triple H's return. from tearing his quadricep, and the crowd just goes absolutely nuts when that first chord hits of the game. And just I've watched that back so many times, and every time that is still one of the coolest things I have ever seen.
As much as I'm not a Triple H fan, there is also his reaction to John Cena returning at number 30 at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
A few years after that, and as well when The Undertaker has beaten, I want to say, has he beaten Shawn for the second time? And he comes down to the ring to cut a promo, and as he's done his big walk to the ring, or it's kind of when he comes back for WrestleMania after it, so it could have been the year after.
Triple H just
he goes to speak, and that moment is also pretty damn good. Danny, is the Eddie Guerrero entrance your most iconic, or have you got one to top the bill?
No, I think, like I said, I think most recent it was the Hardy Boys entrance.
Yeah.
But Eddie Guerrero is just, he's one of my favorites all time. But the glass breaking for Stone Cold, it's really the classics. But I think Eddie Guerrero is probably the one that's a little bit more, maybe not on everyone's list.
Perfect. So before we wrap this up, guys, Danny, I'll stick with you first. If you just want to tell us about you, where we can find you on your socials, and
I did get the Mount Rushmore list.
You did? You got that?
I did.
Perfect. That's what I was going to get on to. So
awesome.
Can I have your Mount Rushmore then, please?
So for the legend, I had to go with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
Best promo, The Rock.
Yep.
I think that man can talk, for days. One for the future, Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley.
She's amazing.
She is.
And she's so young. There's so much ahead of Rhea. That's why I wasn't so upset that she lost to Charlotte. I was upset, but I wasn't so upset because I know she still has a long time. And I think the best female, and had we done this a month ago or 2 months ago, I might have said Becky Lynch.
Yep.
But I'm going to go with Bayley.
Right, okay, yeah. Why not?
I love her new heel persona. I was already a big fan of Bayley before.
Yeah.
But her new heel gimmick is great. She's just I don't ever want her to lose the belt ever.
For one, I think, and again, I'm going to say this. Adam Wilborn, legend. He mentioned this on his podcast that I mentioned earlier on. The whole Sasha Bayley thing at the minute is really good, and they've kind of pointed out that Sasha, when they won the tag team titles at first, Sasha got the pinfall and won them the belts. Sasha got the pinfall and won them the belts again this time. When they lost at WrestleMania, Bayley at the pin. It's going to happen again, and I think this is how they're going to break them up. Yeah. Brilliant. Before I come back to you for your socials, Danny, James, have you got your Mount Rushmore?
So, reasons through again.
So, I would like your pro wrestling legend.
Legend?
Yeah.
Taker.
Undertaker. Your best promo in wrestling. Who gives the best promo?
Does Paul Heyman count?
Yes,
Heyman
counts. I'll give you Heyman. Your wrestler for the future?
Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne. Yeah. And your favourite female wrestler?
Paige. I was a massive fan of Paige when she was in NXT, and then when she came to main roster, I thought she was brilliant.
There we go.
Sad that she never carries on.
I feel bad because I wasn't female wrestler that was on my original four, and it's escaping me who was my fourth. But if I was going to give the four, I know that my legend was Stone Cold Steve Austin. My best promo, I give to Chris Jericho, based on not just a little bit of the bullying, but if you look at how the longevity of Jericho and what he's done, I had to give it to Jericho without the breaks and stuff that he's had. My wrestler for the future, I believe, is Will Ospreay. I think what Will Ospreay does is incredible, and I just think he will eventually get that big platform in America that he deserves, whether it be with a New Japan tour or whatnot. And my female wrestler, it would be Rhea Ripley without a shadow of a doubt. I think it's incredible what she does. Gents, we're going to call it here. I want to thank you both massively for being a part of this. Danny, before we go, a little bit about you. I know you're on some incredible podcasts and you do a lot of your own stuff as well. Tell us where we can find those and where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Echo Spider. That's ECKO. I do a comics podcast with a couple of friends locally. That's called the Next Issue Podcast. You can find us at Next Issue Pod. We talk about all things comics. We just talk about Stargirl, the new show for the CW/DC Universe app, if you're into comics and stuff like that. And then this week, I'll be appearing on our buddy Matt's podcast, the MCU podcast. We just recorded recently too. That should be dropping, I think, on third. Well, I don't know when this will go out, but it'll be dropping on the week of the 9th of June.
That goes out. Perfect. Yeah. Danny, thank you very much. James, talk to me, brother. Let the people know who you are, what you do, and where we can find you.
Social media, I have one Twitter account.
Yep.
James CH Matthews MATT. I have 0 followers because I've only just started using it again. So it'd be great if anybody would follow me on that, because I literally just retweet wrestling and tweet about wrestling, because that's what I use Twitter for. It's where I get most of the news from and stuff like that.
Now that Corey Graves is gone, you're back in?
Yeah, that's it. Take Corey Graves' slot.
Yeah, Corey Graves is gone. So I just went off it for ages. So I'm on it now. I think I'm just having some audio issues here. I'm not sure what's going on.
You dropped out a little bit. Give people that Twitter handle again.
James CH Matthews. That's MATT EHEWS. In case someone can spell Matthews. Yeah, that's my Twitter handle. Please follow me, because nobody follows me at the moment. I've got 0 followers. It's really sad.
There we go. Of course, my name's Reece Cole. You can find me on Twitter at COLEYMANIA. I am part of the incredible group of content creators that is the TTYL network on all your social media things. Guys, I want to thank you both for coming on. We'll hopefully see you both again. We are going to be going out again, possibly at the beginning of July. We've got another couple of pay-per-views to talk about. We're always open to questions, any theories that you want to put forward. I'm always here to listen. And as always, if you feel you can step into the ring and go one-on-one with myself, step up your game, bro. Thank you.